I'm just scared he'll find out the baby's not his. That's the first sentence I heard when the door slammed shut behind me because I came back for my wallet. Not exactly what you expect to hear from your fiancé in couples therapy, talking to the therapist you're both paying. She wasn't crying. She wasn't whispering. She was confessing, like the room was finally safe without me in it. And I stood on the other side of the closed door, one hand still gripping the leather wallet I'd left on the windowsill, my heart already sliding down my spine. My name's Jaden. I was supposed to become a father next month. And now I was wondering if I'd just heard the trailer to a horror film where I was the supporting character. Not the lead, not the father, not the fiancé, just the idiot. I didn't barge back in. I walked away, slowly, down the hall, out to the car, and drove 2 blocks before pulling over and vomiting into a trash can behind a gas station. Then I did the stupidest thing I could have possibly done. I went back home and pretended I hadn't heard a damn thing. Therapy was heavy today, she said that night, curling up next to me on the couch, her belly pressed warm against my side. But I feel lighter. Good, I said, trying to match the lie with my own. But I was already planning the unthinkable. If she won't tell me the truth, maybe I'll find it another way. I bought a DNA kit. The baby hadn't arrived yet, but there was another way. Her OBGYN had ordered an early fetal test weeks ago, and the raw data was still in our online account. I had access. All I needed was my own sample and a third-party site. It was stupid, paranoid, violation of privacy level stupid. But the thing about betrayal, once it whispers in your ear, you can't unhear it. Then came the dream. It happened 3 nights in a row. Same thing each time. I'm sitting in the nursery. A shadow walks in. Not my fiancé, not even someone I recognize, but she's holding a baby. She hands it to me. I look down, and I don't see my child. I see a blank face, like the baby doesn't have a story yet, like it's not mine to name. The woman whispers, "You can leave now." And I wake up, each time drenched in sweat. The DNA results came back on a Tuesday. I opened them while sitting in my car in the Target parking lot. The match percentage was lower than it should be for a father. Not impossible, not 0, but off. Then I noticed the note in the system. Maternal match confirmed, paternal match inconclusive, retest recommended. I should have stopped there. Should have waited, sat down, talked to her. But instead, I did something worse, something final. I scheduled a second therapy session without her. And I brought the audio. Yes, I'd started recording our sessions after that day, just in case, just for reference. And that time, I made sure the mic wasn't off. It was Dr. Halverson who asked me, "Do you want to play it for me?" I nodded, pressed play. And as my fiancé's voice spilled from the phone, Dr. Halverson's expression didn't change, because he already knew. "Jaden," he said carefully, "she didn't confess that to me." What? She was alone in the room. I'd stepped out. She said it aloud, into the room, like she wanted someone to hear. I blinked. "But you didn't hear her?" "I did. From the hallway. I paused. I thought maybe it was meant for someone else." He paused. She wasn't talking to herself. That night, I confronted her. I said I knew. About the test, about what I'd overheard. And she said, "I wanted you to hear." I stared. "What?" "I knew you'd forget your wallet. You always forget your wallet. And I needed you to finally face it without me saying it directly." "Face what?" She smiled. Not cruelly, almost gently. "That baby is not yours," she said. Then she looked me in the eye and added, "And he's not mine either." I didn't move, didn't blink. It was one of those moments where the silence feels thick, like the air itself is listening, waiting to see what you'll do with the grenade someone just rolled into your lap. "He's not yours?" I repeated, slowly, the words turning to dust on my tongue. She gave me that same eerie, calm smile and walked over to the fridge, as if we hadn't just detonated our entire relationship on the living room carpet. "Do you want water?" she asked. "Stop," I said. "You can't just drop that, and what the hell do you mean he's not yours either?" She turned around, water bottle in hand, and leaned against the counter. "I mean exactly what I said. The baby isn't mine. Let me finish," she said, "please." So I sat down, because at this point, reality was already cracked, and I needed to hear how deep it would split. "Last year," she began, "when I told you I wanted to feel like myself again, and you thought it was about yoga or self-care or whatever, yeah, I started seeing a therapist alone, not Dr. Halverson, someone else, a woman. She does dream work, regression therapy." My stomach twisted. I already hated where this was going. She led me through this series of dreams, same ones, over and over. I was in this white room, no windows, no doors, just one chair, and every time there was a child in the corner. She looked at me then. "Jaden, that child looked exactly like the ultrasound we got." "What are you talking about?" "I think I was being prepped, programmed." I stood up. "Okay, this is insane. No, it's finally making sense. Why the timeline never added up. Why I missed a whole week last spring. Why I have memory gaps around when I supposedly conceived." I took a step back, like distance might make the crazy bounce off me less violently. "You think someone implanted a pregnancy?" She didn't answer, just looked at me with something like relief. "Not just the baby. I think they implanted the life, too. I think I was living someone else's." I laughed. I actually laughed out loud. "Jesus, Megan, what is this, a Netflix pilot? You think you're some kind of surrogate spy?" "I don't expect you to believe me," she said, "but you asked, so I'm telling you." I walked out. Not because I was angry, but because I was terrified. For 3 days, we didn't speak. She texted once. "You should check your dreams too. It's not just me." I ignored it, threw myself into work, told myself she was just unraveling from stress, hormones, fear of motherhood. But that night, I dreamed again. Same nursery, same woman, same baby. Only this time, the baby opened its eyes. And they weren't mine. They weren't Megan's. They were blue. Neither of us have blue eyes. And then the woman said, "She's remembering. That's dangerous." I woke up, drenched in sweat, lungs tight like I'd forgotten how to breathe. The next day, I called Dr. Halverson, not for therapy, to ask if I could listen to the session recordings. He was hesitant at first, said that wasn't standard practice, but I told him there might be something wrong, something real. He agreed to one. We chose a recent one from last month. Midway through the session, Megan mentioned a dream, not the white room, a different one. She said she was holding a child at a birthday party. The child turned and called her Aunt Megan. And she said in the session, "That's when I knew. She was never meant to be mine. I'm just holding her place." I paused the recording. "She?" Dr. Halverson blinked. "You didn't know the gender? We didn't ask." I went home. Megan was on the couch, watching old baby videos on mute. Not ours, someone else's. "I need to know the truth," I said. "All of it." She nodded and stood. "Then come with me." Where? She pulled out a small paper envelope. The dream therapist gave me this, said I'd know when to open it. I stared, and I never did. But last night, I dreamed you gave it to me. She placed it in my hands. Open it. I unfolded the paper inside. It was a birth certificate. Female child, born 3 years ago. Mother, unknown. Father, not listed. Guardian, Megan R. And in the corner, scribbled in unfamiliar handwriting, not his, not mine, hers. I looked up at her, and she said, I think she's about to come back. Come back from where? I asked. Megan didn't answer right away. She just turned and walked toward the nursery we'd set up together. Her movements were slow, almost reverent, like she was entering a church. I followed, heart thudding. She opened the closet and pulled out a sealed box I'd never seen before, gray, metal, and heavy. This isn't ours, she said. It showed up 3 weeks ago on our doorstep. No return address. And you just kept it? I thought you sent it. I crouched next to her as she popped the latches. Inside were 3 things. A plush rabbit, worn and dirty, like it had been dragged across concrete. A Polaroid photo, Megan standing in front of a lake I didn't recognize, holding a child I'd never seen. A USB drive, labeled in black Sharpie, "Do not remember her." I stared at the photo. When was this taken? She touched the corner like it might burn. I don't know. I have zero memory of this. My chest went cold. We plugged in the USB. It contained exactly 1 file, a short video clip, no audio, security footage maybe? It showed Megan, pregnant, walking into what looked like an old house, holding hands with a little girl. The child was wearing a yellow coat. Megan sat her down, kissed her on the head, and walked away. The child just stayed there, waiting, watching, and then the door slammed behind her. I felt sick. This isn't just pregnancy brain, Megan, I whispered. This is something else. Megan's phone dinged. A text. From a number saved only as a pajama. She's awake. Go back to the lake. Megan didn't hesitate. We have to go. Go where? To the lake in the photo. I don't know how, but something in me knows the way. I should have said no, should have told her she needed help or rest or time. But some part of me, the same part that dreamed the same dream 3 nights in a row, already knew. This wasn't about belief. It was about closure. The drive took 3 hours. The whole way, Megan barely spoke. She just stared at the photo in her lap, running her finger over the edge like a prayer bead. When we arrived, I recognized it immediately, even though I'd never been there. It was the lake from my own dream, down to the willow tree near the bank. We walked in silence. Then Megan stopped. There, she said, behind the boathouse. We moved slowly around the structure, and there she was, a girl, alone, sitting cross-legged in the dirt, playing with a small wooden toy boat. She looked up, and for a second, I swear to God, she smiled like she knew us. Then she said, in a small voice that did not belong to any child I'd ever met, "You took too long." I froze. Megan dropped to her knees. "It's you. I remember now." The girl stood up. "You weren't supposed to forget, but they made you." "Who did?" I asked. The girl turned to me, and she had my eyes. "I'm not supposed to be here," the girl whispered. "I was left in the dream too long." Megan started sobbing. We didn't know. The girl stepped closer. "You're not the first, but you're the first to come back." "I don't understand," I said. "Are you our daughter?" "No," she said. "I was hers." I blanked. "Whose?" She pointed past us, to the woods. And there, between 2 trees, stood a woman. Not Megan, not anyone I knew, but somehow familiar. The woman didn't walk. She glided. Her eyes never left the girl's face. And when she reached her, she bent down, brushed the hair from her eyes, and whispered, "Time to go home, baby." Then she looked at us, and I swear to you, her eyes were mine too, but darker, wronger, as if I was looking at a version of myself that had made every wrong choice imaginable. And she smiled. "Thank you," she said, "for keeping her safe." Then both of them vanished. Not walked away, vanished. We stood in stunned silence, breathing like we'd just run a marathon. Megan's hands were shaking. "What just happened?" I asked. She didn't answer, because her phone buzzed again. A photo from an unknown number. It was us, standing in front of the nursery we built, except neither of us remembered the photo being taken. In the mirror behind us, there were 3 people. Me, Megan, and the girl in yellow, smiling. We drove home in silence, Megan clutching the photo the whole way like it was a relic. I couldn't stop glancing at the rearview mirror, half expecting to see her, the girl in yellow, our not daughter. But every time I checked, it was just empty seats and headlights behind us. Still, something followed us home. Not a ghost exactly, more like a ripple, like a piece of reality didn't settle back into place after we saw her. We got inside, locked every door, turned every light on. I think Megan half expected the girl, or the woman, to be waiting in the nursery. But it was still untouched, except one thing had changed. The plush rabbit from the gray box, it was sitting upright in the crib now. Neither of us had moved it. The next day, Megan didn't go to work. She called out sick, but I knew better. She just sat at the kitchen table, staring at the Polaroid, scrolling through her phone. Not for answers, for proof, or memory, or maybe just for something to click into place. Around noon, she whispered, "I think I gave birth in a dream." I dropped my coffee mug. "What?" She looked up slowly. "Last night, in the dream, the white room, there was a bed, machines. I was screaming, but no one was there. Megan, that wasn't real." "I know, but I felt it. The pain, the pressure, the emptiness when it was over." I sat across from her, palms sweating. "Are you saying she's ours? That you carried her?" "I don't know. That's the worst part. I don't know what's real anymore." Then she handed me her phone. Open was our shared photo album. There was a new picture at the top, time-stamped from 2:17 a.m. Us, in bed, asleep. And in the hallway mirror behind us, the girl in yellow, standing, watching. I wanted answers, hard answers, tangible ones. So I did something I hadn't done in years. I called my sister, Chloe. She's not exactly stable, always been into weird stuff, witchy stuff, the kind of person who goes on Reddit to decode synchronicities and has dream journals back to kindergarten. I told her everything. There was a long pause. Then she said, "Did she call you mommy or daddy?" "What?" "The girl, did she use that word?" "No, she just said we took too long." "Then she wasn't yours." "Then whose was she?" "That's the wrong question." Pause. "You need to find out why she needed you." Then she hung up. Later that night, Megan finally fell asleep. I couldn't. I walked into the nursery. Everything was still, too still. No hum from the baby monitor, no flicker of the nightlight. Then I saw it. A drawing pinned to the wall. Crayon on printer paper. 3 stick figures. One tall, one shorter, one small. They were holding hands. All had black hair. Underneath, scrawled in shaky child's writing, "My real family." I called Chloe back immediately. "This is escalating," I said. "She left a drawing." Chloe wasn't surprised. She's trying to anchor. She's choosing you. That's dangerous. Why? Because if she anchors, and she's not supposed to, someone else pays the cost. What cost? There was a pause. Then Chloe said, "Whose memories are you missing?" My blood ran cold. The next morning, Megan wasn't in bed. I found her outside, barefoot on the lawn, still in her nightgown, just staring at the sky. "You okay?" I asked. She was here again. In a dream? She turned. No, in our room. She sat at the edge of the bed and asked if I wanted her to stay this time. I didn't know what to say. Then she added, and she asked me a new question. What? She looked straight at me, expression unreadable. She asked if I wanted to trade. I didn't ask what that meant. I didn't want to know. I just held Megan for a long time while the wind picked up. Then the power went out. Just the nursery. The rest of the house was fine. And when I walked in to check it, there was music playing from the mobile above the crib. A soft lullaby neither of us had installed, spinning slowly. And the rabbit? Gone. That night, we locked the nursery. Deadbolt and all. It didn't matter. At 3:12 a.m., I woke up to the sound of the mobile playing again. Only this time, it was louder, slower, like someone was dragging the melody. I grabbed my phone. It wouldn't turn on. Neither would the lights. I walked to the nursery in the dark, heart pounding, hand on the wall for balance. The door was unlocked, and the music was still playing. But the mobile wasn't spinning. It was completely still. I stepped in. On the floor where the crib had been, a child-sized mattress, made up with a yellow blanket tucked in perfectly. "Megan?" I called. No answer. "Megan?" I ran back to our room. She was gone. The covers on her side, still warm. But her phone was there, screen unlocked, open on a message thread from an unsaved number. Last message, "It's almost time. She's ready." I checked the whole house. Nothing. No trace. The back door was wide open. No footprints, no wind, just stillness. Until I heard the bathroom faucet running. That old leaky one in the guest bathroom we never use. I went in, flicked the light on. The mirror was completely fogged up, but written across it in a child's handwriting, "You promised." I sat on the floor, and I remembered something. Not a dream, a moment. Years ago, when Megan and I were still struggling with fertility, there was a night we got drunk and sat on the porch. She cried, and I told her I didn't care how we had a child. I said the words, I remember now. If some kid showed up and said she was ours, I'd believe it, even if I didn't remember her. Megan laughed and said, "Then I hope she's weird and quiet and wears yellow." That was the night the name came up, Juniper. We laughed, called her Junie. I hadn't thought about that in years, but someone did. My phone buzzed back to life at dawn. Only one notification, an airdrop request from Juniper. "Do you want to remember?" I hit accept without thinking. A video downloaded instantly. It opened on Megan, in a white room. Not a dream, a therapy session, time-stamped from 6 months ago. She was facing the therapist, head down. "I know it sounds insane," she said, "but I had a child in a dream, and when I woke up, she was gone. And now I think she's trying to come back." The therapist didn't even blink, just asked, "Do you know who the father was?" Megan hesitated. "It wasn't my husband." I dropped the phone and vomited in the sink, not just from betrayal, from fear, from the slow creep of something ancient threading through my life, like reality had been quietly rewritten, and this was the moment the ink bled through. I picked up the phone again, scrolled forward in the video. Therapist. Do you remember who the father was? Megan. Not at first, but I do now. She turned to the camera, looked straight at it, straight at me. It was you, she said, but not this you. Someone knocked on the door. 3 slow knocks, then a pause, then again. I walked to the front door like I was sleepwalking, opened it. A woman stood there, early 30s, my face, not exactly, but enough. And behind her, a little girl in yellow, holding the plush rabbit. She looked up at me and smiled and said, "Hi, Daddy." She stepped across the threshold without waiting for an invitation. The woman behind her, my not quite double, offered a tight nod. "Thanks for opening the door this time," she said, like we'd done this before. My voice caught in my throat. Who are you?" She tilted her head, studying me. "A version," she said softly, "from a timeline where Megan died in childbirth, where I raised Junie alone." My knees buckled. Juniper, looked around the room like she already knew it. She ran her fingers along the coffee table, the photo frames, the side of the couch. "Did you name her that?" I whispered. The other me smiled faintly. "You did. You always did, no matter the timeline." "But she's not from here." She shook her head. "No, but she remembers." Juniper looked up at me again, eyes wide and ancient. "You promised," she said. And I finally asked the one question I'd been avoiding. Promised what? The other me sat at the kitchen table. Juniper curled up in the armchair like it was hers. I stood, because I didn't trust my knees to hold. The woman, my shadow self, explained it all. "There are fractures," she said, "moments when grief or trauma or love splits reality just a little. Some children fall through." I stared at Juniper. "You mean she slipped into this life?" "She's tried, before, but it never holds, because people forget. They bury dreams, discard déjà vu, until the child becomes unstable, lost." I swallowed hard. And what now? What happens now? She needs someone to hold her, fully, choose her, remember her. Megan stepped out of the hallway then, face pale, eyes wide. "I heard it," she whispered. Then at me. Then at herself but not, sitting at our table, and asked, "If we keep her, does the other version of me die?" No one answered, because we all knew the truth. There was only enough space for one version of each of us. This wasn't about adoption. It was a choice between realities, between this Megan and the mother Juniper remembered. "I dreamed it," Megan said quietly. "I dreamed of the white room, of screaming, of bleeding out. You were holding her. I was gone." Juniper stood now. She walked to Megan, climbed into her lap without hesitation. Megan froze, but she didn't pull away. Juniper leaned in and whispered something in her ear. Megan's breath hitched, and she began to cry. Not from fear, but from knowing. I couldn't handle it. I went into the nursery. The mattress was gone. The crib was back. The rabbit lay on its side. I picked it up, held it, stared at the photo on the wall, the crayon family. Then I heard Megan's voice behind me. "I remember now." I turned. She was holding Juniper's hand, tears streaming down her face. She was ours. She is still ours, just from a different story. And what happens to you? I asked. If I remember everything, she said, then I get to stay. She looked down at Juniper, and she does too. That night, Juniper slept in the nursery. We didn't lock the door. We didn't dream. We just lay in bed, Megan and I staring at the ceiling, waiting for the sky to fall. It didn't. Instead, the sun rose, and with it, a kind of peace, like something had sealed shut, like the fracture was healed. For now, until I opened my email. One new message, no sender, just a subject line. Not his, not mine, hers. Attached was a sonogram, and the timestamp? Dated tomorrow. The sonogram glowed on my screen, grainy and unmistakable. A small, curled silhouette in black and white. At the top, Megan's name, our hospital, tomorrow's date, and beneath it, one chilling line. This time, she stays. I rushed to Megan. She was in the nursery, brushing Juniper's hair. They looked right together, like the photo she'd drawn had stepped into the real world and closed the door behind it. I held up the phone. She stared at it for a long time, then whispered, "It's happening again." "What's happening again?" She looked at Juniper, then at me. I'm pregnant. No test, no nausea, no delay. But she knew. And deep in my chest, I felt it too. The wrongness. Or maybe the rightness, depending on which version of reality you belonged to. Megan said, "If the sonogram's from tomorrow, and I'm only just realizing it, then someone is writing our story ahead of us." Juniper nodded like she already knew. "She needs me," she said softly. "Who does?" Megan asked. Juniper tilted her head. "The new one." I reached out, knelt beside her. "Are you going to leave?" She looked at both of us. "I don't think I can, not if she's born here." Then she added, almost sadly, "There can only be one anchor." That night, I dreamed of fire, of two Megans, one holding a baby, the other standing in the flames, smiling like she knew she was never supposed to survive. I woke up screaming. Megan was gone. The nursery door was open. Juniper wasn't in her bed. And down the hall, two voices, one whispering, one crying. I followed the sound. They were in the bathroom. The mirror was fogged up again, but not from steam, from something else. Inside it, I saw not my reflection, but another me, older, gaunt, broken. He mouthed one word, "Choose." On the floor between the two Megans lay a single item, the plush rabbit. They both stared at it. Neither moved, until Juniper stepped forward and picked it up. The version of Megan holding the baby disappeared. No scream, no smoke, just absence. The room fell silent. Juniper handed the rabbit to my Megan and said, "She's yours now." We named the new baby Luna because that's what Juniper whispered into her ear the moment she was born. She stayed with us for 6 more nights. On the 7th, I woke up to find her bed empty, her drawing gone, the mobile still, just a note in her place, written in thick black crayon. "Thank you for remembering." We never saw her again, but sometimes, in photos we didn't take, she's there, in the window reflection, at the edge of the crowd, smiling, not like a ghost, not like a warning, but like someone who finally made it home, even if just for a little while. And as for Megan, she doesn't dream anymore. Not of white rooms, not of blood or screams or choices, only of lullabies. And once, she woke up with 3 words on her lips. She chose me.